Hi, I'm C.C. Péan, and this is Reclaiming Your Health. Good evening, everyone. I am C.C. Péan, and this is Reclaiming Your Health. Thank you for tuning in this week. I think we are on episode 31 or 32. Thank you for those who have been here week after week after week. And as part of a thank you or an incentive, we're giving away off-Cave products. I have a spice line that you all may have heard of. We have a maple jerk glaze. We have a Habesha spice that pays homage to Africa. We have a curry that pays homage to the Caribbean. And we have a tofu scramble magic, which is for those who are transitioning and trying out tofu and finding that it's dull and tasteless. My tofu scramble magic brings tofu to life. So we're going to be giving away those products every week. So please tune in. We've got questions either pertaining to things I fixed in the past or things I'm fixing presently. But we just want you all to we want to engage you all. So that's why we decided to do that, engage you and give you an incentive to tune in week after week. So tonight, if you were on last week, I've made oven roasted carrot tacos that were so yum. They're so good. And we used carrots because we're wanting to introduce you to the idea that you can have delicious meals without some type of meat substitute or meat analog. Sometimes you can just eat vegetables prepared a slightly different way, and you'll enjoy them just as you would a Big Frank or a hot dog or a piece of fish or something like that, okay? So the week before that, we did cabbage that took the place of rice or pasta. And we cut up our cabbage very, very thinly, and we used onions and garlic and things like that. And I suggested that if you wanted to do something, hi Deidre, thank you. I suggested if you wanted to do something like Italian style with your cabbage, then you would add some sun-dried tomatoes and some oregano, Italian seasonings and things like that. And then you would have a completely different dish from what you're used to with either stir-fried or boiled cabbage, okay? So this week I said that I was going to show you all how to make the tortilla in which the oven roasted carrots were placed last week. Now, very, very early on, I did something similar to this, but they were called fufu tacos, and I used fufu flour to make the tacos. Well, this is very similar, but just a little different. This recipe is actually created by a good dear friend of mine. It's based on her recipe. I'm doing a little twist to it. Allison Charbonneau of Natural Tasty Chef. And Allison specializes in Candida, anti-Candida, yeast-free meals, gluten-free, just, all these allergies that people have. She has created recipes around that. And so we're borrowing this recipe from her tonight and then putting my little twist on it. So the star of tonight's tacos, cassava flour. Can you see that? Cassava flour. I'm using Pamela's. Allison prefers Otto's or Bob's Red Mill, but I'm using Pamela's. Now, when you use cassava flour, it is very important. All cassava flour is not the same. Some cassava flour is very coarse and grainy and unrefined. Now, you may like a little more of a kind of organic, heavier taco tortilla. If that's the case, then you can use virtually any kind of cassava flour. But if you're looking for something that's a little smoother, that's going to end up feeling more like a flour taco. So the other cassava flours that are a little grainier, it'll be more like a corn tortilla when it finishes. This one is going to cook up much more like a flour tortilla. I'm a California girl. I know my tortillas. I prefer flour tortillas. So that's what we're going to use for this. We're going to add nutrition. We're going to make our cassava flour more nutrient dense by incorporating spinach. We're going to blend this spinach with some filtered water, and that's what we're going to use to mix our cassava flour together. Now, of course, you could use carrots if you wanted to. There's different things you can use. When I typically make these tortillas, I use turmeric. I use a pinch of black pepper to activate the curcumin in my turmeric, a little bit of salt. So tonight we're not going to use the turmeric or curcumin, but of course you could always add it. It really wouldn't, it's not going to taste bad. It'll increase the nutrient density, so you're welcome to if you want to, but we're not going to do that tonight. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, we are going to use a total of about 2/3 to 1 cup of water. It really depends on your cassava flour and how much of the liquid it absorbs. So I'm going to put a good cup of water in here, not a bad cup, a good cup. And then I said that we needed a tightly packed bunch of spinach, and that's going to go in there as well. And I said we needed a high-speed blender. I'm going to use this magic bullet tonight to blend this up. Let's see how it goes. So we just want to get this as liquefied as possible. We don't want any chunks or any flakes. It looks like we've done a pretty good job. So if you do not have a Vitamix, you can use your magic bullet or your NutriBullet. That should work. We've got our tawa. I'm using a tawa to do my tortillas tonight. Those of you who are of the West Indian persuasion should be familiar with this. Make roti on it. I use it for everything. It's seasoned, that's why it's colored this way, so it's nonstick. So I am going to now pour this into my measuring cup, about a cup of this. Let's put this right here, put this aside just in case I need a little more. Now we're going to make our mixture. And tonight's question for our giveaway is, I'm going to actually do 2 of them. Tonight's question is, what is another name by which cassava is known? What is another name by which cassava is known? So we've got our 1 cup of cassava flour here. What is another name by which cassava is known? Cassava is a natural gluten-free flour. It is paleo. It's not a grain. It's a root vegetable. Vegan, organic. It's one of those things that's not messed around with a lot. So I like to use it in my recipes. So here's our 1 cup of our cassava flour. We've got about a teaspoon of salt that's going to go in there. I'm going to use my whisk, just make sure that's mixed together well. Get a few things out of the way. I've got my 2 tablespoons of oil. And now we're going to add our blended spinach water, which is going to give us this really neat green color. The flavor, it's negligible. It really doesn't add any flavor to it, but it adds color and it adds nutrition. Okay, so I am now going to switch over from my whisk to a spoon or a spatula. And I've got a bit too much. And as I was telling you all, it really depends on what type of flour you're using. You may have to use a little more or a little less. I need to add just a little bit of flour to this. And I'm going to mix that in so it's a little too wet. I don't know if you all can see what I'm doing here. That we're getting there. Add just a little more. So whenever you make this, make sure that you're not using your last little bit of cassava flour. Make sure you have just a little bit extra in case you need to add it to it. Because all cassava flours are not created equal. This is coming together nicely. Now there are so many things you can add to this tortilla. You know, you can add chives, you could add chopped cilantro to the dry mix before you add in the liquid. If you want to make it really spicy, you can add some red pepper flakes. There's so much you can do. This feels like it's just about right. So when I press on this, it doesn't stick to my finger. You see that? So that's letting me know that we've got a good mixture here. The great thing about this is, if it doesn't work, if it's too sticky after you roll it out or press it out, you can always put it back in the dish. No problemo. All righty. So let's get this out the way. And I'm going to show you how I make my tortillas. Now, I don't know how many of you have a tortilla press, but I do. I'm a California girl, again. I believe in tacos and tortillas. I eat them just as often as I eat roti and curry. So I have a tortilla press. This is great because it will give you just the right amount of thickness, but you got to be careful not to overpress it, because if you overpress them, then it's hard to separate it from the paper. What I like to use, I buy parchment paper that's like in squares. You can't find this in a grocery store, but you can always get it online at like Amazon, or if you have a membership at like a restaurant depot or something like that. I love these. These are great because if I'm making a whole bunch of these, I can press them out and just keep them in between these two sheets. And right when I'm ready to prepare them, I can just, I can just put them on my towel or my nonstick pan. So it allows me to get them done ahead of time. Now, I don't store them uncooked. They have to be cooked before you store them. But then again, once you cook them, you can put them in between these parchment papers, and you can put them in a Ziploc, and you can freeze them and then warm up. I do it all the time. So I'm going to use a small scoop. I like to use the small scoop because it's easier to manage. Let me just try it. Okay, yeah. See how it's not sticking to my hand? So that lets me know that we've got a good consistency. I may end up having to add a little more flour to it. Let's see how this first one turns out. So I'm just going to put a little dollop right in the center. If you don't have a scoop, you can use like a teaspoon or a tablespoon. I'm going to put this on top. I'm going to press it down. Now, I'm not using this because that would make it way too thin. This is like super thin now. And you see how that's coming off here? All right. And then what I do is I literally, this one, I could use a little more flour. You see how that came up on the end there? Just gonna add a little more flour to it. Just a little bit. And that is cooking quickly. Just a little more flour. Wow, that one's really cooking quickly. I'm seeing the color change from like a bright green to kind of like a pasty green. One little part left. Okay. Ooh, isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Wow, that came out beautiful. I added a little more flour to this, so let's see how this one turns out. Yep. That looks great. This side doesn't look too great. That side does. Have you ever heard the tale of the first pancake? Let me grab a plate. That's the one that you try out first. It may not make the actual dinner table, but it's the first one you try out to check your mix and to check your heat. So that looks lovely on this side, but the other side, not so much. I turn down my heat just a little bit, and I'm gonna go back in. We're gonna try another one. We're gonna put it right in the center again. Gonna cover with another piece of parchment and then press this down. Carefully take this off. Carefully peel it back. And put this on here. You know, it's funny, when I usually make these, I don't have any issues, and tonight I'm making them with you guys, and they're giving me headaches. What is that about? That one, we're gonna go in again. You know, I know that sometimes when Allison makes these, she'll drizzle a little bit of oil on it. A little bit of plant-based butter. I really like how this side is turning out. Did anybody answer my question? What is the other name by which cassava is known? Cassava is in so many cultures. Cassava is used to make fufu on the continent. Cassava is makes a delicious dish in Dominican culture where they basically just boil it and put red onions on it and salt and pepper. It's so good. It's super simple. It's delicious. My mom's country, there's a dish called metemji. And in the metemji, they use cassava, coconut milk. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So nobody has the answer for that. Interesting. Well, I guess we'll have to, yes! You spelled it a little differently than I've seen it, but you got the right idea. Dietra, congratulations. And I'm going to let you choose what you would like from Afkave Foods. We have our maple jerk glaze, regular, and now we even have an extra spicy. And I have tofu scramble magic. We have our quarantine curry, or our habesha spice. So you make your choice of what you want. Send us your address and we'll get it off to you. So these are cooking up nicely. Yep, there you go. That's the correct spelling. But I got you. I understood what you were saying. All right, so we've got 3 of these done. I'll go on to this one. And then I'm just going to show you all how I make a really simple, delicious meal with these. You know, sometimes less is more. And I think tacos are great, but so often people get all caught up in all the sauces and stuff. And if you're really trying to eat kind of clean, you end up adding back in a whole bunch of stuff that you really don't need. So I'm going to show you like a really simple, delicious taco filling that I eat. Let that cook up a little more. We're going to do one more. And so my next question is, let me see, let me think of what my next question would be. Give me a moment. I'm going to come up with a good question. So I asked you all last week if you knew what my cultural heritage was, and Melissa Mackey answered correctly. I don't know how many of you know, here's a good question. Who knows where I'm from? Where was I born and raised? That's a good question. Where was I born and raised? The city. I gave you a hint tonight. I said what state I'm from earlier if you were paying attention, but do you know what city I was raised in? This is our last one we're going to do tonight. Okay, you can't answer again, so now I have to do another. So now I have to do another one. Melissa, you can't answer any more questions. At least I found out from Stan that you're not in the same room with him. So, but I am from San Francisco, California. Yes. But we're going to have to ask you another question because Melissa is going to have the entire line of off-topic food products. I got you. I owe you a product from last week, so we'll get some of those things off to you. Okay, so we are done with this. I really encourage you all to try this. It's really fun. This is another one of those things that you can fix with your kids, like if your kids want to be in the kitchen with you. It's really fun. It's really fun, and it's really yummy, and it's really simple. So this is how I do my tortillas. If you see this bowl, I have avocado, I have some cucumber, and I have some tomato. I went out earlier today and I found some oat zarella. I don't know if anybody has tried this. It is an Italian herb oat milk mozzarella style shredded cheese. It's funny how, you know, when they come out with a new product and all of a sudden everything's that. And I love oat milk. I love how creamy it is. So I saw this, I was excited. So let me just show you a really simple, delicious way to make a taco. So we've got the taco here. And I'm literally going to, let's see. Grab a spoon. Super simple. Sometimes some of the best things you can eat are incredibly simple. So I'm just going to take, I don't know if you all can see me, just going to take a couple slices of avocado, 3 slices of avocado. I'm going to put that there. I have some thinly sliced cucumber, 2 slices of that, 2 slices of tomato. How beautiful that looks. It's so simple. I'm gonna try out this oat milk mozzarella Italian style. They also have a chipotle. I'm gonna use this one, just put like a little pinch on top. You all know I love my cilantro, my micro cilantro. I'm just gonna drop a little bit of that on top. It's not my fanciest plating, but it's not gonna be plated too long because I'm gonna yam it down. So this is our taco. We've got a cassava flour tortilla that we've infused with spinach. We blended it with some spring water, just pureed it really, really good till it was nice and runny. We added that to our mixture of cassava flour, with a little bit of salt, with a little bit of oil. Did it in our pan, our nonstick pan. If you have a nonstick skillet, that's fine. This is a tawa. You can make this on anything. And I just put a few slices of avocado, some cucumber, tomato, vegan cheese, and mozzarella. I may have put too much on here, but I'm going to taste it. See how it tastes. I've definitely put too much on here, but I'm greedy, so I'm going to figure it out. Very good. What I love about the cassava, it's super soft. And it really, really, really mimics a flour, like a wheat flour or a white flour tortilla. That's what I love about it. So, thank you for joining us on Reclaiming Your Health. I will not be here next week because guess what? On Monday, I turn 50. On Monday, I turn 50 and I'm going to be out of town. So we'll have a replay next Tuesday. But if you're interested in trying my agave products, starting Saturday at sunset, we are going to have a buy one, get one 50% off on everything on our site. Thank you, Melissa, except for clothing and cups like that. But all of our spices and everything is going to be buy one, get one 50% off. So if you've been curious and you thought they were a little pricey, now is the time to try them out. Thank you so much for joining me on Reclaiming Your Health. I'm going to finish this taco. I look forward to you all trying this recipe and sharing pictures, letting me know how you're using our spices and everything. Thank you for joining us. See you, well, we'll see you next week. I won't be live, but see you next week. Bye-bye.